Good morning. So last time we saw Christopher, he was at school. He had painted some. Miss S asked him how he felt about his mom having an affair, and then he said it doesn't really matter because she's dead still. I think that was about it. Oh, we talked about his memory as a film, so he remembers things. Right, so here we go. When I got home from school, Father was still at work, so I unlocked the front door and went inside and took my coat off. I went into the kitchen and put my things on the table, and one of the things was this book, which I had taken to show Miss S. I made myself a raspberry milkshake and heated it up in the microwave, and then went through to the living room to watch one of my Blue Planet videos about life in the deepest parts of the ocean. The video was about sea creatures who live around sulfur chimneys, which are underwater volcanoes where gases are ejected from the Earth's crust into the water. Scientists never expected there to be any living organisms there because it was so hot and so poisonous, but there are whole ecosystems there. I like this bit because it shows you that there is always something new that science can discover, and all the facts that you take for granted can be completely wrong. And also, I like the fact that they are filming in a place which is harder to get to than top of Mount Everest, but is only a few miles away from sea level. And it is one of the quietest and darkest and most secret places on the surfaces of the earth. And I like imagining I'm there sometimes in a spherical medical submersible with windows that are 30 centimeters thick to stop them from imploding under pressure. So like a sub. And I imagine that I'm the only person inside it, and that it's not connected to its ship at all, but can operate under its own power, and I can control the motors and move anywhere I want. Father came home at 5:48 p.m. I heard him come through the front door. Then he came into the living room. He was wearing a lime green and sky blue check shirt, and there was a double knot on one of his shoes, but not the other. He was carrying an old advertisement for milk powder, which was made of metal and painted with blue and white enamel, and covered with little circles of rust, which were like bullet holes, but he didn't explain why he was carrying this. He said, "Howdy, partner," which is a joke he does. "Hello." I carried on watching the video, and Father went into the kitchen. I had forgotten that I had left my book lying on the kitchen table because I was too interested in the Blue Planet video. This is what is called relaxing your guard, and that is what you must never do if you're a detective. It was 5:54 when Father came back into the living room, and he said, "What is this?" But he said it very quietly, and I didn't realize he was angry because he wasn't shouting. He was holding my book in his hand. "It's a book I'm writing." "Is it true? Did you talk to Mrs. Alexander?" He said this very quietly as well, so I didn't realize that he was angry. "Yes." "Holy fucking shit, Christopher. How stupid are you?" This is what Miss S says is called a rhetorical question. It has a question mark at the end, but you're not meant to answer it because the person who's asking it already knows the answer. It's difficult to spot a rhetorical question. Then Father said, "What did I tell you, Christopher?" This was much louder. And I replied, not to mention Mr. Shear's name in our house, and not to go asking Mrs. Shears or anyone about who killed the bloody dog, and not to go trespassing in other people's gardens, and to stop this ridiculous detective game. Except I haven't done any of those things. I just asked Mrs. Alexander about Mr. Shears because don't give me that stuff, you little crap. Stop it, boys. Sorry, my dogs are fighting. You knew exactly what you were doing. I read the book, remember? What else did I say, Christopher? I thought this might be a rhetorical question too, but I wasn't sure. I found it hard to work out to say because I was starting to get scared and confused. Then Father asked this question. What else did I say, Christopher? I don't know. Come on. You're the memory man. But I couldn't think. Boys, hey! Go somewhere else. All right. Father said not to go sticking around your nose into other people's business. And what do? You go around sticking your nose into other people's business. You go around raking up the past and sharing it with every Tom, Dick, and Harry you bump into. What am I going to do with you, Christopher? What am I going to do with you? I was just chatting with Mrs. Alexander. I wasn't doing investigating. And he said, I asked you to do one thing for me, Christopher. One thing. I didn't want to talk to Mrs. Alexander. It was Mrs. Alexander who... But Father interrupted me and grabbed a hold of my arm really hard. Father had never grabbed a hold of me like that before. Mother had hit me sometimes because she was a very hot-tempered person, which means she gets angry more quickly. But Father was a more level-headed person, which means he didn't get angry as quickly and he didn't shout as often. So I was very surprised when he grabbed me. I don't like it when people grab me, and I don't like being surprised either, so I hit him. Then I hit the policeman, like I hit the policeman when he took a hold of me and lifted me on my feet. But Father didn't let go, and he was shouting, so I hit him again, and then I don't know what I was doing anymore. I had no memories for a short time. I know it was a short time because I checked my watch afterwards. It was like someone had switched me off and then switched me on again. And when they switched me on again, I was sitting on the carpet with my back against the wall, and there was blood on my right hand. Guys, come on. Hold on. We're done. Cookie, go lay down. Go lay down. Go lay down. Go lay down. Good. I don't know where we are. Oh, here. And there was blood on my hand, and the side of my head was hurting. And Father was standing on the carpet in front of me, looking down at me, and he was still holding my book in his hand. But it was bent in half, and all the corners were messed up, and there was a scratch on his neck and a big rip in his sleeve on his shirt, and he was breathing really deeply. After about a minute, he turned and walked through to the kitchen. Then he unlocked the door into the garden and went outside. I heard him lift the lid of the garbage can and put something in it, and then he put the lid back down. Then he came to the kitchen again, but he wasn't carrying my book anymore. He locked the back door again and put the key into the little china jug that is shaped like a nun, and he stood in the middle of the kitchen and closed his eyes. Then he opened his eyes and said, "I need a drink." And then he got himself a can of beer. How much time do we have? Let's stop right there. So I'm going to ask you some questions on Google Classroom. Love you. Miss you. Here are my crazy dogs being buttheads. Bye, guys. Love you.